Hey there, beautiful souls. Welcome back to Ever Revenge, your go-to spot for stories that twist the knife of heartbreak just to stitch it back with threads of hope and that irresistible pull of true love. If you're joining us for the first time, pull up a chair. You're about to get lost in something that'll linger long after the credits roll. We're so close to hitting that epic 1K subscriber mark, and your support is the spark that's getting us there. So, if you're feeling the vibe, hit that subscribe button right now. Turn on those notifications so you never miss a tale, and let's cross this milestone as a family. Oh, and one more thing. Stick with me for the full video. I promise, this one's a slow-burn emotional roller coaster with a landing that feels like coming home. No spoilers, but those emojis in the title. They're just the tip of the iceberg. Cozy up, maybe grab a tissue or two, and let's dive into tonight's heart-wrencher. I made a joke about trading my husband, but his cold, silent response broke me inside. Broken heart, flushed face, crying face. Ready? Lights low. Story time. The laughter echoed off the exposed brick walls of our favorite neighborhood bistro, a cozy hole in the wall with mismatched wooden tables and the kind of candlelight that made everyone's flaws feel like features. It was our monthly double date with Sarah and Tom, our closest friends since that chaotic college improv troupe where we'd all bonded over botched lines and inside jokes that still cracked us up a decade later. I was 32 now, married to Jamie for 7 blissful, bumpy years, and nights like this were our reset button. A glass of Pinot Grigio in hand, my bare feet tucked under me on the worn banquette, shoes kicked off because why not? I felt the warmth of normalcy wrapping around us like a favorite sweater. Jamie sat beside me, his arm draped casually over the back of the booth, fingers occasionally brushing my shoulder in that absent-minded way that always sent a secret thrill through me. He was the steady one, tall, with that mop of chestnut hair perpetually tousled like he'd just rolled out of bed, which on lazy Sundays he often had, and eyes the color of storm-tossed seas. We'd met in a bookstore cafe, both reaching for the last copy of some obscure poetry anthology. His hand had lingered on mine a beat too long, and instead of pulling away, he'd grinned and said, "Share it? I'll read the odds, you the evens." By closing time, we'd devoured the whole thing aloud, our voices weaving through the quiet aisles like a duet. That spark, it never fully dimmed. Our wedding was a whirlwind of wildflowers and barefoot dances on a lakeside dock, vows exchanged under a canopy of stars. "You're my plot twist," he'd whispered as we cut the cake, chocolate frosting smudged on his nose. The best kind. But life, that sly thief, had a way of sneaking in cracks. Jamie's tech startup had exploded. Late nights coding, investor pitches that pulled him across time zones, weekends lost to debugging marathons. I'd climbed the ladder at my graphic design firm too, but mine felt like a gentle incline compared to his sheer cliff. We'd adapted. Quick breakfasts of avocado toast and stolen kisses at the door, texts throughout the day that started as "miss you" and evolved into grocery lists. Romance simmered on the back burner. Fewer candlelit dinners, more Netflix queues paused midway because exhaustion won. I missed the little things. The way he'd hum off-key while stirring pasta sauce, or surprise me with wildflowers pilfered from a roadside stand. Lately I'd catch myself staring at old photos, wondering if we were drifting or just evolving. That night at the bistro, the conversation had looped into the absurd, fueled by our second round of drinks and Sarah's dramatic retelling of her latest blind date disaster, a guy who'd shown up with a pet ferret in his backpack. "Swear to God, it hissed at the waiter," she gasped, and we all dissolved into hysterics. Tom, ever the instigator, turned to me with a wink. "Leah, if you could trade Jamie for one ridiculous superpower, what would it be? Come on, spill." The table leaned in, expectant, the air thick with that playful energy that makes friendships feel eternal. I glanced at Jamie, expecting his usual eye roll and smirk, the one that said, "Go on, entertain them. I'll roast you later." But he was mid-sip of his beer, watching me with that quiet intensity he got when he was really listening. Emboldened by the wine's rosy haze, I leaned forward, gesturing wildly. "Oh, easy. I'd trade him in for the ability to teleport. Imagine. No more traffic jams, instant beach escapes, poofing to Paris for croissants at dawn. Sorry, babe, but you'd be out for a slice of that freedom." The words tumbled out light as air, a throwaway punchline meant to elicit groans and giggles. Sarah snorted into her glass. Tom fake gasped, clutching his chest. It was the kind of joke we traded 100 times, teasing the what-ifs to remind ourselves how solid our is was. But Jamie, he didn't laugh. His face went still, like a pond freezing over mid-ripple. The arm around my shoulders slipped away, not abruptly, but deliberately, folding into his lap. He set his bottle down with a soft clink that cut through the chatter like a blade. His eyes, those sea storm eyes, met mine for a fractured second, flat and unreadable, before he looked away, jaw tightening just enough to hollow his cheeks. Silence. Not the comfortable kind that invites more words, but the heavy, suffocating sort that presses on your chest until breathing hurts. The table faltered. Sarah's laugh died mid-breath, Tom's quip hanging unfinished. I waited 2 beats 3 for the punch back. Yeah, well, I'd trade you for a clone who does laundry. Nothing. He just withdrew. Into himself, into some invisible fortress I'd never breached. My stomach plummeted, the wine turning sour in my throat. Jamie! I nudged his knee under the table, voice pitching higher than intended, laced with a laugh that felt like shattered glass. He glanced up, forced a thin smile that didn't reach anywhere, and murmured, "Hilarious, Leah. Pass the fries." The words were polite, mechanical, a deflection wrapped in nonchalance. But oh God, the chill in them. It seeped into my bones, turning the cozy booth into a drafty void. The rest of the night blurred. Polite chit-chat about work, Sarah's awkward pivot to travel plans, but I was adrift, replaying that moment on loop. Had I gone too far? Was it the exhaustion etched into his posture, the faint shadows under his eyes from another all-nighter? Or had my flippant words struck a nerve I didn't know was raw? We drove home in that same silence, the city lights streaking past like accusations. My apartment, our apartment with its sun-faded rugs and shelves groaning under mismatched mugs, felt foreign as we stepped inside. He flicked on the kitchen light, poured a glass of water, and leaned against the counter, staring at the tile like it held answers. "You okay?" I asked, hovering in the doorway, arms crossed against the sudden vulnerability clawing up my throat. He shrugged, the motion so small it broke something in me. "Just tired. Long week." Then, to my room, door clicking shut with finality. I stood there, pulse thundering, tears pricking hot and unbidden. Joke. It was just a joke. But his response. It wasn't anger or hurt. It was indifference. As if the idea of being traded wasn't absurd, but inevitable. As if I'd handed him permission to let go. Sleep evaded me that night, the bed vast and empty despite him being inches away. His breathing steady but distant. Dawn crept in gray and unforgiving, and I slipped out for a run, pounding pavement until my lungs burned, trying to outpace the ache. By the time I returned, sweat-soaked and spent, he was at the table with his laptop, coffee steaming untouched. "Jamie," I said, voice raw from unshed sobs. "Talk to me. Last night, that joke. I didn't mean." He closed the screen slowly, and when he looked up, the fortress walls cracked. His eyes, red-rimmed, held a storm I'd only glimpsed in flashes. Fear, bone-deep and weary. "It wasn't the joke, Leah." His voice was low, gravel-rough, like he'd been wrestling words all night. It was everything it stirred up. He stood, pacing to the window where rain now pattered against the glass, blurring the world outside. "I've been killing myself at work, pouring every ounce into this app because I thought it'd prove I'm worth sticking around for, that it'd make me irreplaceable. And then you say that, trade me, even as a laugh, and it hits like truth. What if you wake up one day and realize I'm just the guy who forgot date night again? The one who can't teleport you to Paris because he's chained to a desk?" His shoulders slumped, hands raking through his hair. I froze because it terrified me. "That maybe you already have." The confession hung between us, heavy as the rain, and I crossed the room in 3 strides, wrapping my arms around him from behind. He stiffened at first, then melted, turning to bury his face in my neck, his body shaking with quiet sobs that mirrored my own. "Oh, Jamie," I whispered, fingers threading through his hair, inhaling the familiar scent of his shampoo, citrus and safety. That joke. It was me being an idiot, trying to be funny when what I really want is more of you. Not superpowers. Not escapes. The messy, brilliant, humming in the kitchen you. Tears streamed down my face, soaking his shirt, but I didn't care. We sank to the floor right there, knees to the hardwood, spilling it all, the resentments I'd bottled. His absences leaving me echoing in our home, the insecurities he'd hidden, feeling like the startup was his only anchor. "I miss us," I admitted, tracing the lines of his palm, the calluses from endless typing. The poetry readings, the spontaneous drives. "I don't want to trade you. I'd trade the world to rewind and hold you closer." He pulled back, cupping my face, thumbs brushing away the salt tracks. "Then let's rewrite it. No more drifting." That afternoon we cancelled everything. Meetings, deadlines, and reclaimed our city. We started at that bookstore cafe, rereading our poetry book aloud between sips of overpriced lattes. His voice cracking on the tender lines, mine steadying his. We wandered the lakeside where we'd vowed forever, toes dipping into the cool water, skipping stones like kids while he confessed dreams deferred, a sabbatical to write that novel he'd sketched in margins. By sunset, we were on our balcony, tangled in a quilt against the chill, sharing takeout pad thai from the place we discovered on our first anniversary. He fed me a bite, eyes locking with mine, and murmured, "You're my superpower, Leah. Always were." The kiss that followed was slow, unhurried, a rediscovery, lips and breaths syncing like heartbeats finally in rhythm. Heat bloomed low and insistent, hands exploring with the reverence of second chances, until we tumbled inside, bodies whispering apologies and affirmations in the dark. It's been 6 months now, and the cracks, they've mended into something mosaic beautiful. Jamie's cut back hours, carving space for us. Thursday poetry slams, Sunday wildflower hunts. I design his app's interfaces now, our talents intertwining like fingers laced. That silence from the bistro. It's our turning point, a scar that reminds us. Love isn't traded. It's tended fiercely daily. In the quiet moments when he pulls me close and hums off-key, I know, we're not just surviving. We're thriving. Plot twists and all. Phew. Talk about a gut punch that turns into a hug for the soul. If Alex and Elena's story last time had you reaching for the tissues, this one's got that same raw magic. Proof that even the coldest silences can thaw into the warmest reconnections. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for watching all the way through. Your time means everything. If this stirred something deep or made you text yo,